Come on now, fellas! We've got to answer the bell. Now let's go!
Welcome into a Monday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Chris Yao, joined as most of the time.
Except when you're not.
Except when we're not. Bo Patton. And we are glad to have you guys with us here on this Reaction Monday. We have a fantastic show lined up for you. We will be doing our AAC, American Athletic Conference preview today, as we will be joined by Memphis football writer for the Daily Memphian, Frank Bonner II. We'll also see John Duncan of BlazerVictory.com and BlazerPod. And Christopher Gabriel joins us to talk a little bit about conference realignment that will dominate the first half of this show. And it's a lot, but there's a lot going on. So we need to dip into it, and we wanted to get someone who's living in amongst all of the craziness out on the West Coast. So Christopher Gabriel joins us, and looking forward to talking to him. Before we do anything, though, Mo, this show's going to be a little bit somber as we are mourning the loss of one of high school football's, like you said, authorities here in Middle Tennessee.
Without question. We lost Donovan Stewart Saturday morning, and everybody that I've talked to about it has been immediately stunned. I mean, just stunned silence over it. He was working on his second statewide high school book, and I had reposted something on Facebook about a week and a half ago mentioning from Memphis to Mountain City, from Bristol to Bolivar, Donovan's got you covered. And I mean, that was his reach in terms of high school football in this state. If you were talking to somebody about high school football, it didn't matter where they were, they knew who Donovan Stewart was. And to lose that voice, especially right here, we are literally 3 weeks away from the start of the high school football season. And it just feels particularly void, without him. I mean, I posted something earlier today. At some point between now and the start of the season, something's going to come up. I'm going to hear something, see something, and it's going to prompt me to pull out my phone and call him or text him or something like that. And then it's going to be like, nope.
Can't do that.
And it's tragic. and it's heartbreaking. And I don't know too many people that knew Donovan that didn't like him because they knew how much he loved high school football. You know, his dad was a high school football coach, both as a head coach and as an assistant coach across middle and southeastern Tennessee. And, you know, Donovan did a lot with the Tennessee Football Coaches Association and a bunch of different things as far as that goes. So, I mean, his reach, again, was statewide and probably beyond. And, you know, I hate this for his family, for his wife, for his kids, for his parents. And it's just tough to deal with. I mean, you just don't expect that, you know, so.
Certainly not. So we want to, of course, extend our condolences and thoughts out to Jonathan's family, and we are definitely going to be looking forward to this football season because I feel like he's going to be there.
I think we're going to be looking for ways to recognize and honor his memory over the course of this football season as well.
No doubt.
So,
all right, let's get into quickly yesterday or this weekend's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
the Monday UCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education at 931-388-5831 or visit zioneagles.org to schedule your appointment today. Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
Major League Baseball action over the weekend. Braves sweep the Brewers 10-7, 11-5, and 8-6. It was the Rays 4, Astros 3 on Friday. 4 on Saturday, but then falls again to Tampa on Sunday 8-2. Cubs take 3 of 4 from the Cardinals. They won on Thursday, as we told you, on Friday, and then they took Friday's game 3-2, Saturday 5-1 before falling on Sunday 3-0.
Padres with a sweep of one of the AL's best teams, taking 3 from the Rangers, 7-1, 4-0, and 5-3. The Reds and Dodgers, Cincinnati won on Friday, 6-5. It was the Dodgers 3-2 on Saturday. The Reds with a 9-0 victory in the rubber game. And in minor league baseball action, the Sounds fell 5-3 on Sunday at Norfolk.
Yeah, that's all I got.
I don't think they won that series. So. No, I don't believe
They
so.
lost all 3 games over the weekend. Let's hope not.
Yeah.
WNBA action. Seattle down Chicago 83-74. It was Dallas 90, Washington 62 in an absolute blowout. I watched this with Minnesota edges New York on the road 88-83. It was Minnesota on Sunday. Kept it going, 87-83 over Connecticut. Atlanta took down Washington 80-73, and Seattle defeated Indiana 85-62. Chicago 104, Phoenix 85, the Liberty 87, Sparks 79. Las Vegas with another massive win, 104-91 over Dallas.
First of all, I lied. The Sounds and Norfolk did split that series, but the Sounds dropped 2 of 3 over the weekend. Lost 8-4 on Friday, won 5-4 on Saturday, lost 6-3 on Sunday. So they and Norfolk did split this weekend. So rudely interrupted. In soccer action, World Cup play, women's World Cup play. Sweden 5, Italy 0. France with a 2-1 victory over Brazil. Jamaica defeated Panama 1-0. It was Morocco with a 1-0 win over South Korea. Norway drilled the Philippines 6-0. Switzerland and New Zealand played to a scoreless draw. Colombia and Germany played. Colombia with a 2-1 victory there. Zambia defeating Costa Rica 3-1. Japan 4, Spain 0. Australia 4, Canada 0. Ireland and Nigeria scoreless.
Major League Baseball tonight. The Brewers are at Washington at 6:05. At 6:20, you can catch the Braves taking on the Angels at Truist Park. And Cincinnati is at Chicago at 7:05. At 7:10 tonight, Cleveland will be at Houston, and the Padres will be at Coors Field at 7:40 tonight, taking on the Rockies.
Women's World Cup action. Get your nap, set your alarm. Portugal and the U.S. at 2:00 a.m. on Fox. Also at 2 on FS1, it's Vietnam and the Netherlands. At 6:00 on Fox, it's China and England. And also at 6 on FS1, it's Haiti and Denmark. And that is your rundown.
So we'll go into it. But again, big match for USA. Obviously, they need to win, but they don't have to win to advance to 16. Hopefully, they'll get the win. But as long as they don't lose and the Netherlands win by more than 2,
It's better to just win.
Just win.
Just win, baby.
Get it done.
There you go.
Let's go
And
the
not have
house.
to worry about it. Huh?
All right. Top story today comes from college football. Surprise, surprise. We've been talking about it for feels like 3 weeks now, and it is talking season. So we'll continue to do that. There are rumors circulating that some ACC teams are back in the discussion for realignment. Now, we've talked on this show about the grant of rights. The grant of rights deal is as ironclad as it can be. So if there are ACC teams in discussion for realignment, then all the ACC teams have to be in discussion for realignment. So, or at least half of them, because half of them have to leave. And so, you know,
You say that like it's not possible.
I'm not saying that it's impossible. I just, I don't know how serious this thing is, because the ACC, again, doesn't want to get left behind, right? And they're already left behind because their grant of rights deal is just, it's cheap. I mean, for the programs that they have in the ACC, the Clemsons, the Florida States, the North Carolina and Dukes in basketball, the Virginia in basketball, they've got a lot of really big time programs, and they're not getting paid the way that they should get paid based on the most recent media rights deals that we've seen. So understandably, they're upset. I can totally get it. Now, in addition to that, Pac-12 members are meeting again. Basically, Arizona is about to make a decision for 3 different teams. Because if Arizona leaves, then Arizona State and Utah are likely also involved in realignment. So we'll start once again with what we've been saying for 3 days on this show. The ACC and the Pac-12 need to have a conversation. Otherwise, both conferences may be gone. And if you had told me that the Big 12 was the conference of those 3, the Big 12 was going to be the strongest,
Right.
I would have told you you're absolutely nuts.
No. Put down the crack pipe.
And yet here we are. They may be the only one of the 3 still remaining at the end of the day. If Arizona State, and Utah end up in the Big 12, then what? I think that's the big question here. Because you've still got Cal, Stanford, Oregon, Oregon State, Washington State, who are now without a home. And only 2 of those, basketball-wise, are very important. Or I'm sorry, outside of basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that those 6 teams will be 4 of those 6 will be able to find a home. And that's going to be unfortunate because Oregon State, Washington State, they kind of have the biggest issue because they need to be a team. They need to be a pair.
Mm-hmm.
Same for Stanford and Cal, I guess. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more in length with our next guest, Christopher Gabriel. But there are a lot of questions when Arizona makes their decision. On the other side, if Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, Duke, let's just say those 4 teams, if they do, where do they go? Because Florida State can't be – I don't think Florida State is in SEC conversations. But I certainly think the Big Ten would love Southeast.
Yeah, I mean, because again, as we've
State.
discussed so often on this show at this point, geographics don't mean anything.
No, it's all about TV.
But, and you talk about fits, and sometimes it's a little nebulous, but is Florida State, I don't know if this matters either, but is Florida State really a fit for the Big Ten as they, kind of call themselves, an academic league as much as anything?
I think that's a great question because, no, I don't think they do. I think Florida State fits much better with the Big 12 than they do the Big 10.
Why is it that you don't see the SEC?
I don't think the SEC feels like it needs to deal with Florida State. I mean, and just because, again, if the SEC was going to expand, the 2 places that they would like to do it are North Carolina and Virginia, probably. And I feel like Virginia Tech is a more likely than Virginia. But
I feel like Virginia Tech is more likely than Virginia. I feel like Virginia is more suited, again, from an academic standpoint, for the Big Ten.
Which is why, and this is why the ACC Pac-12 makes a lot of sense, because they do have those Virginia, they have the Boston College, they've got Syracuse. There's a lot of academia, Duke, Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, a lot of academia schools in the ACC fits with that Pac-12. So I don't know why there's not been a conversation about, hey, how do we make this work? Even if it's a schedule, a scheduling, kind of like they have with Notre Dame. I don't know. But to me, there's a lot of question marks because everything is just speculation right now. But once again, I don't understand how Florida State feels like they're going to get out of this grant of rights deal.
There will be lawyers.
I was just about to say, just like you said on Friday, there will be lawyers.
There will be lawyers.
But I feel like there already have been lawyers. If this grant of rights deal was not ironclad, the ACC would not be intact. They would have already been ransacked by somebody, particularly the Big 12. You don't think the Big 12 wants, more East Coast teams to go with Virginia? Of course they do. Or West Virginia.
With West Virginia, yeah.
Of course they do. I mean, that Eastern time zone is important. I don't know. I'm really curious how any of this is going to play out. I also saw, I don't know if you saw the Nicole Auerbach article about how the Big Ten plans to schedule around USC and UCLA. But
what are they going to do? Have back-to-back road games or something so they can stay east?
Yes, basically they'll play a week on the road, and then they'll end their road trips close or nearby to major airports. And Matt Brown, being Matt Brown, he said, I can see it now. There's going to be some delay at O'Hare, and it's going to mess up an entire week of Big Ten scheduling. Wow. I mean, it's just going to happen.
Yep.
So conference realignment is going to have its issues. And the travel is going to be issue number one, because outside of football and basketball, when you start having to send volleyball teams cross country to play a conference game,
You know, it's basically what I always said about Tennessee State going to the WAC on a larger scale. I mean, it's not, everybody looks at the football aspect of it. And sure, you can go from USC to Penn State for a football game. When you start talking about sending your tennis team over there or your soccer team over there, it starts to get a little ridiculous.
And yet we're going to watch it happen. We're going to watch it play out in real time.
In real time.
I'm curious if in a decade somebody doesn't say, okay, this ain't working.
You know, I mean, we just had John Hattler on talking about the Ohio Valley Conference last week, and he mentioned buyer's remorse. I mean, yeah, you're going to make a lot of money. You're going to spend a lot of money.
And is it going to be worth it in the end? I don't know. We shall see. Top story each and every day is brought to you by our friends at Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill in Columbia. Make sure to go see them if you are looking for fresh hand-cut meats, meat and 3 vegetables daily on their deli counter, and, of course, their fresh produce.
Go in the front door, turn to your left.
This week, huge truckload meat sale. It's going to be a blowout. Make sure to get down there, get all the meat that you need, stock up for the freezer.
Clear out your freezer.
Get ready because it's a truckload meat sale, so make sure to go check that out. We'll be right back with Christopher Gabriel. He'll join us and talk more conference realignment and whatever else. So stick around. Main Street Sports News presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll be back to the Lee Company studio in just a moment. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bond and Joint. Chris Yao and Mo Patton here with you on this Reaction Monday. Rapid fire reaction coming your way later in the show. We've got several topics to get into in that segment, so make sure to stick around. We also have our American Athletic Conference preview, as well as our Memphis football specific preview with Frank Bonner II. So all of that coming your way in hour number 2, but right now we are going out west. Go west, young man.
Headed for the wild, wild west.
And we bring in Christopher Gabriel now. What's up, man?
Gentlemen, it's good to see you. I hope you can hear me okay.
Oh, you sound
We
great.
can. Yeah, you probably sound better than we do.
So, well, no, you guys sound great. The mellifluous tones of Mo and Chris. Hey, I was making some notes as you guys were talking. First, let me just tell you what got my attention. Truckload meat sale. Okay. I hear that and I'm like, okay, I'm in the wrong city. Now, on a more serious note, my deepest condolences to your friend Donovan. You know, all of us have played high school sports. All of us have covered high school sports, and the men and women who cover high school sports, they don't always get the attention. They don't always get the acclaim, but they are the foundation of a community when they are bringing the results of young boys and girls to parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, and they are so important in the sports hierarchy. So again, my condolences to the loss of your friend Donovan.
We appreciate that, Chris, and yeah, you're absolutely right. And all too often, those folks don't get their attention until they're gone. So
yeah.
It's maybe that's a lesson. Give folks their flowers while they're here. Chris, what's going on out west?
Oh my goodness. You know, I'm so glad that we're talking about this because there's a lot. And knowing I was going to be coming on with you, I've, sort of refined some of my conversations with my sources inside the Pac-12. So let me see if I can give you a little bit of an overview. I heard Chris mention if Arizona goes, it's possible, it's likely Arizona State and Utah will go. That's one view, and it's a very popular view, and it's possible. But let's keep one thing in mind. The two presidents, Mr. Robbins and Mr. Crow of Arizona State, they're very good friends. And they have stated they don't really want to do anything without the other. But Arizona has also made it clear that if they have to, they will do this move on their own. The Big 12, as I know that both of you know, the Big 12 so far, they have focused more of their conversations on Arizona. And I think that's largely in part because Arizona brings a basketball element to the Big 12 that they will really welcome. They've been good in football over the years. They've had a couple of really good years, never really a great year, but that's one piece in play. Now, as far as the Pac-12 itself goes, what a kerfuffle this is. This goes back to Larry Scott. Larry Scott is a commissioner who the most notable thing that he did in his tenure for the Pac-12 basketball tournament in Las Vegas was have a $7,500 a night suite. That's what he made news for. What he never made news for was having any kind of, by the way, there were probably people living in that suite that he didn't even know about. He never had vision, and consequently, all of the athletic directors, a lot of very smart individuals, but all of them were basically living in an ivory tower, and nobody really had any vision. So the Pac-12, more than anything else, they have brought this situation upon them. Colorado's departure, as you both know, Colorado started in the Big 12, and then they found their way to the Pac-10, which became the Pac-12 when Colorado and Utah went in. Part of the reason they left is because they waited and they waited and they waited for this elusive media rights deal to materialize. It didn't. So when the vote happened, there was no doubt that they were going to go. So the conventional wisdom is that the Pac-12 is in deep, how can I say it, trouble. They're in deep trouble. You mentioned some of the other schools, some of the schools that have been talked about as possible schools that would join, and there's some stories behind a couple of them. San Diego State, UNLV, Boise State, here in Fresno State, and SMU. And SMU is the one that raises a lot of eyebrows. But here's the deal. It's TV sets. When USC and UCLA left the conference, this is their final year, they lost millions of TV sets. So they are desperate to replace those. The Dallas-Fort Worth market brings those in. SMU is really, they're academically, they're at the level of the Pac-12, but that's about it. The rest of the schools that I mentioned, the Pac-12, my friends in Fresno don't like when I say this, but they know it's true. The Pac-12 has never wanted Fresno State. In particular, the school up the road from here in Palo Alto, Stanford. They want nothing to do with Fresno State. They'll play San Jose State. They'll play San Diego State. They won't play Fresno State in football. San Diego State is a viable option. They have fantastic facilities. They just built a glorious new football stadium. Their basketball arena, Viejas Arena, is one of the finest in the country. Of course, they're coming off a national championship appearance. Who doesn't want to go to San Diego any time of year? You talk about sending those volleyball teams. No one in the Big 12 is going to complain about sending the volleyball and tennis teams out to San Diego if there was any kind of connection with them in the Big 12. But ultimately, I think, fellas, for a conference that has won 553 national championships, and listen, we're all SEC fans. SEC fans will sort of mock the Pac-12, like, well, yeah, but a lot of those are in tennis and swimming. Look, that's just silly talk. The fact is, when the SEC, and I'm an SEC fan lifelong, when the SEC wins a championship in anything, we're all talking about it. 553 titles for this conference to be at the precipice, at the doorstep of being dismantled. It is a sad day in college sports out here, guys.
I don't think there's any question that there are some Pac-12 programs that certainly bring a lot of luster with them. Mm-hmm. Stanford particularly. But you're talking about Oregon. You're talking about, Washington. You're talking about Cal. There are a lot of schools that really make a lot of sense for a lot of different conferences. Now, that being said, if Arizona does leave and Arizona State and Utah go with them, then what?
Well, I think that sets the table finally for the Big 12 because they're at 13 right now, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. Arizona gives them 14. That gives them a nice round number. I really believe Arizona State, even though they're saying publicly, yeah, we're not really sure we're going. I really believe Arizona State will go. I really believe Utah will go. And then, so your question is, then what happens? For Stanford and Cal, they are the two schools that are in a little bit of a different situation because they are academic powerhouses. I mean, Forbes just named Cal the top university in the nation. Stanford is top 10. I'm not breaking news for anybody. They want to be in a good conference, but they would do just fine pretty much wherever they are. Having said that, there's a little bit of frustration amongst both Stanford and Cal that nobody has really talked to them or about them. The two big brands out here remaining are clearly Washington and Oregon. Seattle, big television market. Washington's won a national championship in football. They have a good athletic department top to bottom. Oregon, Portland, not a huge TV market, big enough. It's top 30, but you have the Nike money there. You have great facilities. You have tremendous support there. The rumor has been, and you guys know this, that Washington and Oregon would be the next teams to go. You mentioned Florida State and Clemson potentially getting poached from the ACC. There is that other deal involved. Here's my thought about those two, as long as you guys brought them up. I get it from the money standpoint. I mean, the Big Ten is just, it's a financial juggernaut. And none of this is new. I mean, this all goes back to 1990 when the Big Ten voted 7-3 to bring Penn State in, and that started the ball rolling. But if I'm Florida State and Clemson, I'm just thinking to myself, do I have a faster road to the college football playoff in the ACC or a diminished ACC, or am I going to have a better road in the Big Ten? And then you have to balance that out with the money. So it's a great thing to see what's going to happen here. Lots of rumors about are Oregon and Washington going to get invites? As you mentioned, are Florida State and Clemson going to get invites? I'm with you. I think on balance, academics and otherwise, I think Florida State and Clemson probably better fits in the Big 12, better chances to find their way to the college football playoff with Oklahoma and Texas leaving. But did you guys ever think that we would get to a day where this much chaos enveloped a sport and college sports in general the way we love it?
No, to answer your question. I mean, again, I remember 2 years ago, basically, when we were sitting here and all of a sudden up out of nowhere, it's Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC. And that's where all hell broke loose. And you know, at that point, who knew that we were going to be discussing the possibility of UConn to the Big 12?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. And it really, it's funny because let's take that as an example for a second. Once Penn State back in 1990 got in, between there and a Big Ten announcement in 2009 that they wanted to explore expanding again, there was a lot of movement. And two of the teams that went to the Big Ten, as you know, were Rutgers and Maryland, and nobody understood it. Well, between Southern Connecticut and Washington, D.C., the Big Ten has 1.2 million alums. There are something like 26 million people in that concentrated area. They didn't really care so much about the Maryland Terrapins or the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, for heaven's sakes. They cared about eyes on the TVs, dollar signs, TV contract, and so on, and basically appeasing a lot of alums. Because having lived in New York City a good portion of my adult life, pardon my English, it ain't much of a college football town. It just isn't. It's college basketball. So with UConn, where they would go, again, I think what they're looking at is, well, okay, they have an average football program. That's fine. They've certainly had tremendous success in men's and women's basketball and in soccer, but they are right sort of equidistant in Storrs, Connecticut, which is basic. By the way, when you leave the UConn campus, you run into cows. I mean, that's what you run into.
Absolutely, you do.
Yeah,
I've been there. Yeah,
you go, but they're kind of equidistant between Boston and New York. Again, a lot of TV sets there in Central Connecticut with Hartford. You have Providence. You have all of those areas, Worcester, Boston. So again, they're thinking TV sets, lots of eyes on them.
Okay, so let me ask you this question, because I feel like especially the Pac-12 isn't having conversations with Stanford and Cal for, and this is just my looking at it from an outsider's point of view, because they don't care about football. And it feels like that this is a football-driven conversation. Could Stanford and Cal survive as football independents?
Ooh, that's a question that I have not heard asked. I think they probably could. I think they probably could. I mean, BYU, we've seen how that hasn't worked out for them. But, BYU with their football success, Stanford and Cal have had football success over the years. It hasn't been as much as both schools' success in other sports. Both schools have great stadiums, Memorial Stadium and Strawberry Canyon up in Berkeley. And, of course, Stanford Stadium, the rebuilt Stanford Stadium a few years ago. Both are great places to see games, but both are half empty when they're playing, unless SC, UCLA, or Oregon or somebody's there. I'm gonna go with a yes. I think they could survive. I don't think that's going to happen. The other question in play, Chris and Mo, is will the Pac-12, if Arizona and Arizona State leave, and if Utah leaves, will they have to come down off what I like to call Mount Pompous, and will they have to say, maybe we need to look at two California teams, San Diego State and Fresno State. Maybe we need to look at the Las Vegas market, which is just bursting. UNLV, right. San Diego State. Maybe we need to merge Boise State in. Boise State is an average academic school at best. None of those schools I just mentioned really are at the level of the Pac-12. But the Pac-12 is right now on, do your business or get off the pot. I mean, that's kind of where they're at.
I don't feel like they're going to want to dip into the Mountain West, but it's going to be a do that or die.
Yeah, and I think if you see a merger, you might also see, the Gloria Nevarez. She is the new commissioner. She's taken over for Craig Thompson in the Mountain West. She's very smart, savvy, seasoned, aggressive leader. She has a lot of grand ideas. And by the way, it was Craig Thompson, the outgoing commissioner of the league, who was the one who secured getting a team in the college football playoff from the 6th best conference, the group of 5. But I think that what Gloria Nevarez has in mind is they would like to try to poach a couple of Pac-12 teams that they believe will be left over. You mentioned them already, fellas, Oregon State and Washington State. Corvallis always gets overlooked. That is a school. Facilities are getting upgraded and rebuilt as, you know, the way the sun rises every day. Washington State, it's harder to get into Washington State than it is to get into the Kremlin. I mean, it's impossible to get there. But again, both schools have great alumni, great fan bases. They get a lot of folks at their games. I think you might see the Mountain West, assuming the Mountain West stays intact, try to poach those 2 schools and bring them over to the Mountain West.
Why not? Why not just make the Mountain West the next Power 5 conference?
Right? I mean, I know that we are throwing around the phrase, or you guys haven't today, but we're maybe you did. We're throwing around the phrase super conferences. I think we're a bit down the road from that, and I think that's going to be a bad. I think there's going to be more unintended consequences if we get to a point where we only have 3 conferences, the SEC, the Big Ten, and then whatever's left, however they've all merged together, because we're going to lose, especially for basketball and baseball, where we really see a lot of great teams, or good to great teams in those sports. We'll see those just get pushed to the wayside. I hope we don't get to that point with super conferences. Fellas, it sure seems like within 5 to 10 years, that's kind of where we're going.
Christopher Gabriel here with us on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. And this is a conversation that could take up the entire 2 hours of our show.
Without question.
And it has taken up 3 days of our show at this point already. And it seems like every single time we have a new conversation about it, more questions come up. And none of them got answered from the first time. So we're just sitting here going, okay.
Now what?
Just keep adding to the list, because I would be interested to see if Stanford and Cal would be willing to go independent in football and try to play in a different basketball conference like the Mountain West, or I don't know. It just seems like a really intriguing conversation that's going to have to take place. When is do you know when Arizona is going to be having this conversation?
I think it's this week, and it might even be tomorrow. And you know, Chris, to your point, I think one of the things that's frustrated a lot of us that cover the Mountain West, Pac-12, and we can just speak to those 2. And certainly, I mean, I always have my foot in the water of the SEC, not quite as much as you guys. But I think what's frustrating is that what we have seen for the last 3 years, what gets said publicly, ultimately seems like that's 180 degrees from what happens. I heard rumblings, as did many of us. We heard rumblings about SC and UCLA, and publicly, and you can find the comments, publicly, you heard, that's just silly talk. We're not leaving the Pac-12 to the Big Ten. And then, oh, look at that. They're in the Big Ten. So that's why I put very little stock in what any of these conference commissioners or athletic directors are saying, because no sooner do they say one thing, they're not really telling us what is going on when the doors close and the filet mignon and the shrimp scampies are brought into their closed meetings.
No. And we won't know until they announce it, or until some guy in Houston breaks it.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
One of the 2. So we'll see.
Brent Zwerneman.
Yes. Brent Zwerneman. Christopher Gabriel, thanks for taking time with us, man. We always love talking to you, and hopefully we'll have some resolution soon, and we can have you back on to react to whatever we find out.
Well, it's my great pleasure to join you. I always love coming on with both of you guys. And again, truckload meat sale, I am on it.
Hey, if that ain't Tennessee, ain't nothing Tennessee.
I love it. Thanks, fellas.
Thank you.
See you next time. All right, we are going to take a break here, and when we come back, talk a little Braves. The stove is hot. The trade deadline is nearing, and goodness gracious, what's going on? The Angels are in town. All of that and more right after this on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Stick around.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
There is nothing better than drinking an ice-cold beverage while taking in a Nashville Sounds baseball game. Hi, I'm Stephanie Miller with Mornings on Main Street. The Nashville Sounds and Main Street Media Television have teamed up to promote Sunday Family Fun Day here at First Horizon Park each Sunday home game. Just go to your favorite Main Street Media website and click on Sounds Main Street Media Day banner to register to win free tickets. And then we'll see you here at the ballpark.
Tired of hanging lights every year? We get it. That's why Southern Nights is here to help. We install programmable lighting on your home or business so you can enjoy beautiful, customizable lighting all year round. No more ladders, tangled lights, or cold nights outside. We do the work, you do the celebrating. Call Southern Nights today and take the hassle out of holiday lighting forever. For a free quote, give us a call at 931-241-3074 or visit our Facebook page at Southern Nights.
Y'all, I'm serious right now. They have a dragon here. I saw it. But no, they don't. There's no such thing as dragons. I swear, I saw it. It had huge claws. Get out of here. It had eyes as big as the moon. Come on, I'll show you. Wait up. Do you hear that? We're almost there. Whoa! I told you so. That is a dragon.
It's 1954. Swinging a borrowed bat, Milwaukee's first baseman Joe Adcock hit 4 homers, a solo, a 2-run, a 3-run, and a second solo, and a double that just missed being yet another round tripper as the Braves won 15-7 over the Brooklyn Dodgers at Ebbets Field. Adcock's 18 total bases established a major league record, breaking the previous mark set by Brooklyn's Gil Hodges, who I'm pretty sure played in that game as well. Incidentally, the Dodgers' leadoff hitter in that game was Nashville native Jim Jr. Gillum. That was this day in Braves history. I just got one question. Did Dude get his bat back?
Yeah, if I borrowed your bat and I hit 4 home runs, it's my
and a
bat.
double.
It's my bat.
It's my bat. Look at me. I'm the captain now.
And here's the thing: if I'm on your team, it's your bat. Because if that's what you're gonna do with it,
yeah, but I mean,
you can have the bat.
The only thing is, those should have been my 4 homers and a double. I mean, why are you using up my hits, man? What's up?
So, Ebbets Field had pretty short porch and left, and I don't know if he was right-handed or not, but I feel certain that the home runs did not go to center field, and the double probably did.
No, actually, the double was to left.
How?
Yeah.
Jeez. Must have been
I guess it was a low liner,
Oh. Or it bounced, and you never know where it bounced,
Yeah, a low liner in marked contrast to the 2 bombs that Matt Olson hit yesterday.
Yeah, Matt Olson was he's on pace for 138 RBIs and 55 homers, both of which would be modern Braves records. The modern Braves record for RBIs is 134 by Eddie Matthews. So,
okay. And home runs is 51 by Andrew Jones.
So
But you know what? I mean, there are a lot of people on heaters right now for the Braves. I mean, Ozuna hit 4 homers in this series against the Brewers. Austin is finally starting to heat up a little bit, and it's a good thing. It's fun to watch.
Someone said that the Brewers would have allowed fewer runs if they had just walked the first 4 hitters of the Braves and pitched to everyone else.
That's wild.
Just walk them.
Take your chances with 5 through 9.
Give up fewer runs. So, and look.
You know what was crazy about that series? And I thought about it on the way back last night. The Brewers' all-star closer, Devin Williams, never got in a game.
He didn't even pitch, at which he was probably getting ready to pitch.
When?
Yesterday until
yeah, never mind. Sit down, Devin. Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
And then Raziel Iglesias wasn't ready to pitch.
He got ready.
And got ready pretty quickly and got him out. And look, it was a great series for everybody involved. I mean, Ozuna getting hot again is huge. Of course, he's hitting the fastball almost as well as anybody in the game right now. And yeah, people keep throwing it to him. And so, AJ Minter has now been brought back from his rehab, likely to see Max Fried by the end of the week.
In the Cubs series, I think.
And Jesse Chavez threw a bullpen.
Did he? Now that I didn't see.
So there's a lot going on right now. And oh, by the way, the Braves are out here wheeling and dealing as they are wont to do.
Kiss stealing.
jet riding, limousine riding, jet flying. But yeah, this is about to be an interesting team because there's going to be a lot. Again, Charlie Culberson being DFA'd for newly acquired
Nicky Lopez,
utility infielder.
Yeah, plays all 4 infield positions and left,
which is important.
Yeah.
Anybody that
Somebody tweeted that Charlie Culberson has more DFAs than ABs.
That's true. He is too.
Yeah.
2 and 0.
Yeah. 1.
Oh, he has 1 AB? Oh, wow. I missed that somehow.
Yeah.
So, I really think that this is going to be a really, really interesting day.
Yeah, this next 24 hours is going to be interesting. I mean, I'm sure Braves Twitter is abuzz at this moment because I didn't see it, but I saw tweets about it. For some reason, the Giants allegedly are interested in Nicky Lopez and Vaughn Grissom.
I don't know why you need to fill 2 infield spots, but sure.
I don't know. Suppose, from what I gathered, and again, it's Twitter fodder, take it for what it's worth. They are interested in Grissom for second base. And I guess Lopez as a utility guy. 2 of the guys on the Giants roster are Luke Jackson and Jock Peterson.
Yeah, I don't think Jock fits, but Luke would be a great addition. I think he's had a good year. And I mean, I don't know where Jock fits other than, clubhouse morale.
As long as he brings those pearls with him.
As long as he brings the pearls. Yeah. And here's, I guess my biggest concern is the Braves have got to do 2 things. They've got to not mess up the clubhouse. That's most important. You can't bring in somebody who's not going to be a fit culturally. Because this clubhouse it's unique. It's not like a lot of baseball clubhouses.
It's tight. I mean, you can see it in the dugout.
Yeah. And you got to be willing to go all in. You know, that's just the way it is. You're going to have to go all in or it's not going to work.
To their credit, though, and I think it starts again with Anthopoulos. I think they have done a great job of making moves that haven't disturbed that.
Exactly. Or have enhanced it.
Yeah, right. But certainly haven't disturbed it.
They've not disturbed it. And so, and number two, you have to find a player that's not going to cost you everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it appears the Braves are interested in Eduardo Rodriguez from Detroit. And so,
sorry,
Brady, but
I'm really a little hesitant about Tiger relievers, but at this point, I and everybody else in Braves country owe Joe Jimenez a huge apology.
Listen,
because he did not get off to the best start. I was seeing Sean Green all over again, but dude has been nailed in like his last 20 appearances.
Well, you know, that's the thing. That's what happened with Shane, though. Shane Green just he was terrible, then he was nails, and then he was terrible again.
Yeah. So
it's like,
so we just got to be sure and ride Jimenez while he's.
But you got to know when to fold him, as Kenny Rogers would say.
Know when to walk away.
Know when to walk away from Joe Jimenez. But right now he has been hitting nails and has been a huge part of this. Again, the Braves bullpen, top 5 in Major League Baseball. This is not a bullpen that needs a whole lot. And oh, by the way, AJ Minter and Jesse Chavez are coming back. So I don't know that.
What is Dylan Lee's situation?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that, but I can. Speaking of Dylan's, apparently the White Sox are listening to offers on Dylan Cease.
Well, if they're listening to offers, then there's a certain general manager that needs to be making one.
And here's the thing. I don't know what the cost is. If they're balking at the price for Eduardo Rodriguez, I can't imagine that they'd be willing to give up what's necessary to get Dylan Cease.
Mm-hmm.
But with the addition of Lopez, I'm curious if either Grissom or Shoemake are certainly key pieces to a trade if there's going to be a big name.
Well, I don't know that Nicky Lopez and either Vaughn Grissom or Braden Shoemake are, I don't think they're equal.
Well, the reason what I'm saying is you only need one of them because you now have a backup.
Yeah, but I don't think either Shoemake or Grissom is necessarily viewed as impactful for this team.
Oh, no. I'm talking long term here too, you know.
I don't think Lopez is a long-term answer to anything in Atlanta.
Maybe not. But if you need a quality utility infielder, he's clearly a guy who can do it. So I'm saying you got a backup. You don't need a backup. And you don't want to keep Grissom and Shoemake down in AAA for 4 years.
Well, and if they've got trade value,
then you got to get rid of them. At least one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why, I mean, and the way Grissom's hitting the ball right now, which is very well.
I got to be very hesitant about trading that bad.
It's going to be hard.
And if I do,
especially with Ozuna, you know, being not too long.
and if I do, I got to get something for him. I mean, a lot.
I'm talking Dylan Cease here. That's
I don't mean Taylor Hearn.
No. And
I don't mean Pierce Johnson.
I don't think he'd be a part of anything like that. Here's the thing, though, and this is the bottom line. Alex Anthopoulos, to this point, has not made a splash trade move. Everything has been a bunch of guys we can fix and have, at least temporarily. So I don't expect that to be the case here.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong because Alex Anthopoulos has certainly made us eat our words a few times.
Yeah, but you know what? Again, in AA we trust.
In AA we trust, and so much so that someone said that he's earned so much grace that we're celebrating Nicky Lopez. Which
I responded to that tweet.
And you know what?
As
Nicky
if
Lopez will come in and do something huge in the NLDS or something.
They said that we're celebrating the acquisition of Nicky Lopez like it was the trade that clinched the World Series. And I said, hey, until you prove otherwise, that's exactly what we're doing. Yeah.
So
tell me it's not.
Yeah. Angels are coming in. They have 51 stolen bases on the year. Ronald
51.
Jr. has 51
The
stolen
Angels
bases
have 51 stolen bases.
Yes, the Angels.
Who leaves town with more stolen bases, the Angels or Ronald Acuna?
Probably Ronald Acuna Jr. if I had to guess. So should be an interesting series, as we won't see Shohei Ohtani on the bump, but you'll certainly see him in the batter's box, and you got to find a way to pitch around him and Mike Trout.
Well, the great thing is, if you can, the Angels lineup and the Braves lineup, one of these is not like the other. I mean, you can work around those two guys, as Matt Chapman pointed out to his manager at Toronto over the weekend. Why are we pitching to this guy? He's the only guy that can hit.
He's the only guy they got. Why are we pitching to him? Let's walk it. Travis d'Arnaud will start at catcher and hit fifth today, just FYI. Rosario
because the catcher bats fifth, whoever it is. Hang on a minute. Hang on.
What you got?
Acuna,
yep.
Albies, Riley, Olsen, catcher, Ozuna, Rosario, Arcia, and Harris.
Yep, that's the lineup. Because what else you can? I mean, Travis d'Arnaud has been hitting the cover off of it too. So
sure.
Oh.
But I mean, with d'Arnaud behind the plate, the Angels have a better chance of adding to their 51 stolen bases than with Sean Murphy behind the plate.
There is that. They only get him for one day. So.
Right.
They only get him one day. We'll take a break. When we come back, it is Memphis. And we'll talk a little Tigers football with Frank Bonner, the second of the Daily Memphian. So y'all come back with us on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint to the Lee Company Studio. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Did you know that up to 80% of us will experience back or neck pain during our lifetime? Many of you are offered surgery or addictive pain pills to relieve your chronic pain. At the Dr. Gill's Center for Back, Neck, Chronic Pain Relief, we have been leading the way to better health, naturally, and have helped tens of thousands of people right here in Middle Tennessee for the past 30 years.
I came to Dr. Gill about 10 years ago after my local doctors recommended surgery. I knew about Dr. Gill and wanted to see if he could help me. 10 years later, I am pain-free, no surgery, and no pain pills.
Surgery is scary, and over 40% of all back surgeries fail, creating a cycle of surgery and pills. There is a safer solution to your chronic pain. Make the call to the Dr. Gill Center for Back Neck Chronic Pain Relief today and get your life back. This office visit is normally $299, but call today and receive your initial consultation, report of finding for just $49. But hurry, this offer won't last long. Call 615-768-8743. That's 615-768-8743.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. Chris Yow, Mo Patton on this Reaction Monday, but it's also Preview Monday because every day is Preview Day here on Main Street Sports Today, all the way up through the start of the college football season, which is not that far away, Mo.
No, it's not.
Not that far away. Today we are previewing the American Athletic Conference, but specifically State School Memphis, and we go to the Daily Memphians, Frank Bonner II, to join us and talk a little bit about it. Frank, what's going on, man?
Doing all right. How you guys doing today?
We're good. You kind of look like a silhouette there, though.
He's got that light behind him.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Look like you are like in witness protection there or something. Just,
he's on a documentary.
Yeah.
Hiding his identity for
Does the blinds help or does it make it worse?
No, the blinds hurt. If you can close them.
Yeah, the backlit is never good.
Actually, I'll just do you one better.
Oh, that's so funny. That's so good. Just talk about it.
I will move from the blinds.
There we go.
Hey, we can see you now.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Awesome.
You're probably more comfortable there anyway. Let's be honest.
Now we can see and hear Frank Bonner of the Daily Memphian. Yeah. Appreciate you, man. What are things looking like with Ryan Silverfield this time so far?
I think they obviously around this time when you're talking about Memphis or any other team, everybody's is excited about what they have going into a new year. Everybody's 0-0. But I do think that they genuinely believe that the offensive line will be improved from last year. I know they lost 4 of their top pass catchers from last season, including Caden Prescorn, who was the tight end. But they are excited about what they have in that room. Demir Blankenship, a transfer, he's a guy with a lot of speed who they're really excited about. I think Rock Taylor, who's been in that program for a couple of years now, I think this is the year for him to really be a part of that offense. And so they've got some pieces that the coaching staff is excited about to see what they're able to do.
When you start talking about college football teams, the fact is that it starts with the quarterback at every level of football at this point. And Seth Hennigan, feels like he doesn't get the love he deserves.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think it's partly it's because that Seth Hennigan isn't playing for an Alabama or something like that where they're just going to completely just throw out his stats in the limelight. But if you look, from day one, his freshman year, the year that he had as a freshman, and he's continued to grow on that. I mean, you can't say too much about his progression in a negative light. I think this year, going into what I call his veteran year, right? He's going to be an upperclassman. I think you want to continue to see that growth progress. You want to see him be that guy for the whole team. And there's nothing about his last 2 seasons that would lead you to believe that he's not going to continue to be that guy. So to your point, people close to the Memphis program, I mean, they know how good he is.
I mean, almost 7,000 yards over the last couple of years, 47 touchdowns, 16 picks. That's pretty good.
And I guess that's why he was named today to the Maxwell Award watch list.
Probably. Here's the problem, though. All the people he'd been throwing to, he ain't got none of them no more.
Right, but the other part of that is though, outside of Caden Priestcorn, if you know who was a tight end, if you look at that receiver room last year, the receiver room wasn't necessarily as good as they were anticipated to be, and so it's not like this receiver room is in a position where they're going to be less than what they were last year, or they have to do something spectacular to be as good as what they were last year, because last year's receiver room, they had some drops, they had some issues. And so I don't think that, although it's going to be some new faces and, you got to get the chemistry down and all that, I don't necessarily think that it's an entirely bad situation that Seth is going to have a new receiver room that has some speed. And, Joseph Skates is still there. I already mentioned Blankumsey. Rod Taylor's a bigger receiver. So they still have some guys, but I do think the chemistry part may take a little bit of time.
So apparently Seth Hennigan is slated to be the youngest third-year starting quarterback in FBS. He's 20 years old and will be a starter for a third season.
The fact that he's still there is a little surprising in the world of transfer portals.
Sure.
Yeah, and to your point about his youth, I think playing at Denton Ryan High School over at Texas, that's big-time high school football, that has allowed him to progress in his maturity a lot quicker than maybe somebody else in his age in terms of, football aspects, just because he has been in high-pressure situations. I spoke with his dad while I was down in Arlington at AAC Media Days, and he talked about just, he spent time in the Cowboys Stadium on the sideline as a young child, just watching the team, and then as a player being able to play in some state championships there. So he's had those big moments. He's played in front of big crowds heading into college. So when he got to college, the learning curve wasn't as big for him as maybe another high school athlete who didn't necessarily play in that limelight.
It's interesting.
Frank, people who have kept up with Memphis high school football for an extended period of time, excuse me, will recognize the name Tevin Carter, redshirt freshman over at Memphis, who's wearing 21. What is his situation? I mean, is he still in the mix at quarterback, or are there? Obviously, he's not going to push a Hennigan at this point. But where does he stand?
Well, yeah, obviously, obviously Seth is the bona fide starter, and I think Tevin has kind of solidified himself as that number 2 spot, that backup, and he seems to be happy at Memphis. He's one of those players. Every time you see him, he's got a smile on his face, right? He's one of those personalities, and but I do think that he's pretty solid in being that number 2 guy at quarterback behind Seth.
Chris mentioned the transfer portal, and as you look through this roster, there are a lot of guys who did not start their collegiate career, didn't start their clock at Memphis that are there now. Who are a couple of guys that fit that bill that Memphis is kind of looking for some significant production from?
Well, the first name is Simeon Blair, right? I mean, I think the fact that he's he's a first-year transfer, hasn't been in the program that much, and they decided to bring him to the media days. Just shows you the faith that they have in what he's able to do immediately for them on the field. And so he's a guy who I'm sure we're going to hear a lot of. Malik Feaster, another DB, out of Florida State that we'll probably hear his name. And then, they brought in Blake Watson at running back from Old Dominion. And so he's obviously going to be in the mix in running back rotations. And so just off the top of my head, those three guys are guys where I could see them having an immediate impact once the season starts week 1.
It's interesting you mentioned those and don't mention defensive tackle Darius Jones from Texas A&M, but the defensive tackles particularly are kind of a big deal this year because you are replacing Cameron Jackson and Wardalis Ducksworth. So whoever plays defensive tackle for this team is going to have to put up some numbers in order to be as successful as those two guys were.
Yeah, and Jones, like you said, Jones is another name. I didn't mean to leave him off, but yeah, he's definitely another name. And that defensive line, you look at the transfers they brought in, they have some depth, right? And I think Ryan even said it, talking about the O-line too. He said, their strong suit this year, he feels like, is the depth that they have. And so, especially in the trenches, right? You know how physical it can get in the trenches. I don't think a team will ever tell you that they can have too many guys ready to play on the offense and defensive line. And so I do think that they made a point in the transfer portal to make sure that they had that depth in case they deal with some nicks and bruises from players. And so I do think that as you get into later on in the season, right, you start looking at week 6, week 7, week 8, and the game of attrition starts to play a role. I think Memphis feels strongly that when that type of stuff happens, they have enough quality guys to get through those bumps and bruises.
Frank Bonner II of the Daily Memphian joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Frank, I've got a friend who's got a son that plays at Memphis. What feel do you have for redshirt sophomore linebacker Bryce Edmondson at this point?
Well, the linebacker situation, obviously they lost 2 of their 3, in Tyler Murray and Zay Cullins. Jeff is still there. And so that linebacker group, there are some spots to be taken in terms of starting and then the reserve. And so he could be in that mix of guys looking to get playing time on the field at the linebacker position. Like I said, I think Jeffrey Canton Arcool is going to be the number 1 guy in that spot. And then afterwards, we'll see what fall camp looks like and who are going to be those main 2 guys and the 3 and 4 guys after that.
Frank, as I mentioned, the defensive line, offensive line's got to be better. 37 sacks last year. Just, obviously that's not ideal when you're trying to keep your prize quarterback upright. And so do you feel like this line is going to be better than it was last year? And if not, how long can they be successful?
Yeah. To your first question, I do think that they're going to be better. You see they made a new hire, Jeff Myers, a guy who has a really good relationship with Ryan Silverfield before he got here. From talking to him, talking to Ryan, even talking to players, they seem like they're on one accord on what they want to accomplish at that position this year. Everybody knows that Ryan Silverfield was an offensive line guy before he became the head coach at Memphis. So that should help. Like I said, like Macklin Pounders, he's a guy who he started the season opener, got hurt, and so he was able to get some playing time. So they have some guys at the tackle positions who have had experience, even if it's not as much experience as the guys who they just lost. And so I do think that they will have a better continuity at that position with the coaching change. Everybody seems to be healthy at this point. And so I do anticipate that they'll be better. And to your second question, if they aren't better, the run game will continue to struggle. And when the run game struggles, that makes it harder on Seth Hennigan, because as a defense, all I know is that I have to defend against the pass if you're having trouble running the ball, which, it makes it harder to create accurate throws and so on. And so I do think the offensive line is what could help this machine run properly. As in terms of putting the defense on its heels and for Memphis to be able to do the things that they want to do. And I do think that the offensive line will be better.
Frank, I don't think we could have you on without asking, what are you hearing right there at ground zero with regards to any realignment possibilities that might involve Memphis?
Man, well, for one, the news about Colorado kind of opened the floodgates of possibilities across the country once again, right? But as far as Memphis is concerned, you know, every time you asked AD Laird Veach, you know, he's basically, you know, he'll basically tell you that, you know, conversations are still trying to be had in terms of positioning themselves and things of that nature. But outside of that, I mean, the stadium obviously was the stadium renovations that's coming after the season was a big piece in Memphis trying to do everything it can to position itself for possible conference realignment. And so on this end, Memphis is just basically trying to control the things that they can control in terms of making sure that they make themselves as shiny as possible or as desirable as possible. And then outside of that, the decision is really out of their hands because at the end of the day, a conference has to invite you. And so we'll see what some of these other conferences are doing, what other dominoes. I do think that if Memphis is trying to be in another conference, right, other dominoes have to fall into place for Memphis to find itself in another conference. And one of those dominoes could have been, you know, Colorado leaving. So we'll see what happens with the Pac-12, how many teams the Big 12 are looking at. The more teams, the better chances for Memphis in terms of conferences trying to grow bigger.
We just got the battle for the bones back, Frank. We don't need to lose it again. Let's calm down. But no, you're right. It is what it is. So, Frank, looking forward to it. This is going to be a heck of a year. Missouri in St. Louis, Boise State at home, get Tulane at home, but you got to go to UAB. Got to go to Charlotte, which picked last in the league.
Yes, as their coach pointed out, oh so eloquently at media days,
and at Temple. So the schedule is not the easiest, but obviously manageable and something that this team feels like it can navigate en route to potentially being an AAC champion, if not that, definitely a solid bowl team.
And I do think it's noteworthy to mention that UTSA is not on the schedule. I am pretty high on UTSA's abilities to kind of hit the ground running in their first year in the conference. And so getting Tulane at home and not having UT on the schedule at all, I think is a pretty good shakeout for Memphis.
No doubt, no doubt. Frank Bonner of the Daily Memphian here with us on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Frank, thanks for taking time with us and telling us about Memphis, and we'll look forward to seeing the Tigers on the gridiron here soon.
I appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Frank.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we continue with our AAC preview. John Duncan of BlazerPod and BlazersVictory.com joins us, so stick around. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint, is back after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports. Today is presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao, Mo Patton in the Lee Company studio here in Columbia. Glad to have you guys with us as we continue our college football previews all the way up to kickoff as we talk a little bit about the American Athletic Conference today. And Mo, a brand new look for the AAC, including the aforementioned Texas, San Antonio, Rice, Florida Atlantic, North Texas coming in, and of course UAB.
For the battle, recreating the Battle of the Bones.
That's right. Obviously leaving Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF, which created some spots for the all AAC preseason team, which is dominated by players of teams coming into the conference. Tulane with 3, obviously coming off their big Sugar Bowl win, but then SMU has a guard, and that's it. Everybody else is from a team coming in. So I think this is going to be an interesting topic of conversation as we bring in John Duncan of BlazersVictory.com and the Blazer Pod. John, thanks for taking some time with us, man. What's going on?
Yeah, thanks guys for having me. You know, UAB kicked off fall camp today, so exciting times. You know, just a few weeks away from kicking that pigskin, so exciting times.
It is exciting. There's no question there. As I mentioned, there's a lot of new faces in the AAC. Not really a lot of new faces to each other though, because they all came from Conference USA, and that's so I'm really interested to see how this level of Conference USA matches up with the former level of the AAC. What are your expectations this year for that level of competition? Do you feel like it'll be about equal?
I mean, to be honest, you know, losing Houston, Cincinnati, and UCF, I mean, to the Big 12 did, you know, take a hit for the AAC, but they bring in some very quality teams. Now, I think if we're all honest, we didn't think they would bring in 6 teams from the aforementioned Conference USA, but they did. And, you know, not to only mention it's 6 teams from the old Conference USA, but 4 out of those 6 teams are, you know, coming in with new head coaches. So I think it's going to be a very competitive league. I don't think it's going to be as top heavy as it has been, but it should be very competitive. And, the previous guest that covers Memphis, I mean, you already see the respect for a team like UTSA with, head coach Jeff Traylor coming in, winning the last 2 Conference USA championships. So they're already, garnering respect, and you bring in, very proud programs like UAB, North Texas, FAU. Charlotte and Rice certainly have some things to prove, but I definitely get where Mike Oresco was going there. Getting into the Charlotte market and the Houston market, with Houston leaving. So I think it will be a very competitive league and still can be one of the top group of 5 conferences moving forward.
Obviously, not losing Tulane doesn't hurt. they just beat the Heisman Trophy winner and won a Sugar Bowl. No big deal.
Yeah, and they bring back Michael Pratt. So, I mean, that's huge. And they also hold on to Willie Fritz, and that's a guy that, I'm sure you've all discussed before, who probably could have left for a Georgia Tech or, another Power 5, but has chosen to stick around with Tulane. So that is huge moving forward for the AAC.
And that's an interesting situation that you referenced there, John, just from the standpoint of, is Willie Fritz going to regret that?
Well, the team moving into the conference, North Texas, they've got Eric Morris as their head coach now, but they had Seth Luttrell, who a few years ago was pretty close to, reportedly taking that Kansas State job. And I bet if you ask him now with True Serum, he would say he definitely regretted that decision. So very, very fair point made there.
Yeah, sometimes you have to leave.
Yeah.
Just because, maybe you've overachieved a little bit. Maybe it's going to be a little bit tougher to maintain that level of competitiveness and that kind of thing. And a lot of times, a lot of places kind of have short memories. It's very much a "what have you done for me lately" type of situation. I'll be very interested to see how closely Tulane comes to, replicating the success that they had last year, and whether or not that comes back to bite Fritz.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. And like coaches nowadays, they kind of have to make the decision. Like obviously the money is going to be more moving into a Power 5 territory, but with that comes a lot of, hey, you don't have total control over your staff at that new school. And so it's kind of that situation where, do you want the more money, or do you want control of your staff? And I think I'm not saying that was, Seth Luttrell's decision or a Willie Fritz or, maybe a Jeff Traylor in the future, but that is something that coaches are going to have to decide.
I think you're exactly right. And as far as coaches go, this particular, you said 4 of the incoming 6 have new head coaches, including UAB. And
yes,
we've talked about Trent Dilfer enough on this show, but you feel like you got to feel like UAB of the 4 new coaches has to have the most ready for success of the 4.
Yeah, Trent, he is coming into a good situation. But the thing is, with this staff, it's just very unique with what, Trent Dilfer is going for. And I do think that it will pay off and will be successful. But you take an inherent risk, like bringing up an Alex Mortensen, son of Chris Mortensen, but he's never been a coordinator at the FBS level. You bring your defensive coordinator from Lipscomb, Sione Taufa'o, who's never had any FBS experience. So he is taking some risk, but he is, confident that it will pay off in the end for UAB and the football program. And let's face it, UAB fans since the return in 2017, they've been kind of, successful, under the previous regime with Bill Clark, and also last year with Bryant Vincent, who is the offensive coordinator at UAB. So there are high expectations for Trent Dilfer, just right off the bat. And if you guys, look at that schedule that UAB has this year, I mean, it's going to be a tough task to ask for, Trent Dilfer and that staff with UAB.
Well, I say that because most of the time when you are a new head coach, you're coming off of a program that's in disarray. A coach has been fired or something, but that's not really what happened at UAB. That they kind of are still set up from the Bill Clark era, obviously the 1 year under Brian Vincent and that sort of thing. But then you've got other coaches who are coming in who have had success at this level. You've got, Tom Herman. Right. I mean, let's not forget what he did while at Houston. I mean, he parlayed that into Texas for a little bit, and now he's back where he probably belongs. And this is his level. And then new head football coach at USF, we know him well from the University of Tennessee, Alex Golish. Mm-hmm. So there are certainly going to be some names to watch out for. How do you feel like this conference sets itself up in the group of five? Is the AAC still the Power Six, or has that kind of gone by the wayside at this point?
Well, Mike Oresco
say that, but yeah.
Well, I was going to say Oresco did say at Media Days that he is moving away from that P6 mantra, but. Oh yeah. Well, to be honest, a lot of us didn't really, like the P6 anyway. Outside, from a UAB, coming from Conference USA, or a Middle Tennessee, coming from Conference USA. But let's face it. I mean, I think that the AAC is the best G5 league right now. With the Mountain West down outside of maybe Boise State, the Sun Belt really competitive, but they tend to kind of beat themselves up with App and. Coastal, and then, a lot of coaching changes there. But I do think the AAC still can be the top G5, even with these teams coming in and those three teams moving out.
I think that's definitely a fair assessment. Yeah. John Duncan, Birmingham-based journalist, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee.
I know you're not surprised that I got somebody from Birmingham.
No, not even a little bit. I'm a little surprised that you're not wearing your green today, actually, as we're discussing the AAC. John, obviously you deal a lot with UAB. What's your read on Trent Dilfer for folks up here that might be wondering how Trent's doing as he approaches his first season?
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he does. And, this is something, where we've said on our website and our podcast before where, I mean, this is going to be a situation where it can go really good or it could be the complete opposite and just be really bad. I don't think there's no middle ground. But, like I said earlier, Trent is confident with what he's doing. He's confident he's got a great staff in place, even though they might be a little unexperienced. But I think he is putting the pieces in place to kind of take UAB to the next level as they move into the AAC conference. And, they're already, hitting the transfer portal. The transfer portal giveth and taketh. So, of course, they lost a couple players to the transfer portal, but they were able to bring in some key guys, to compete right away this year. And, what I'm kind of concerned about offensively speaking with UAB is just the lack of experience on the offensive line. They lose 5 starters from last year, and, UAB fans have been blessed to not even worry about the offensive line since the return in 2017. But this year, you're going to have a couple familiar faces that have had playing time and playing experience. But they're going to need some guys to step up. And, they bring a guy in from Sioux Falls, Brennan Moran, a very experienced guy, but at the D2 level, and it's a couple other guys. But they should be able to, hopefully through fall camp, kind of get that experience with the offensive line and help them to gel more together as they kick it off August 31st.
All right. As we have looked through this conference, who wins this thing?
I mean,
is it wide open?
It's more wide open than people think. You ask somebody, who really doesn't follow this league or G5 football, and they'll just say, oh, it's Tulane again. But folks forget that, last year, before last season, before the amazing Cotton Bowl run that Tulane had last year, I mean, they were coming off of a 2-10 season, and they were picked 6th in the media poll, preseason media poll, and to see what Willie Fritz did last year, I mean, that pretty much answers your question that anybody can. Obviously, the odds-on favorite would be either Tulane or UTSA, but it would not surprise me in the least to see a Memphis or a UAB or a North Texas or SMU, making that leap to the top of the AAC.
Some folks predicting SMU Tulane for the championship. So there's that.
Yeah.
I think that would create some buzz. Just from the standpoint that you're talking about two football programs who have not had a whole lot of success recently.
Yeah,
Suddenly,
but also have historical significance, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, SMU's in talks with the Pac-12 potentially, and all of the things that go along with that.
Yeah.
Who all is not involved with or talking to the Pac-12? Right now, or the
honk if you're not talking to the Pac-12.
So apparently, Stanford and Cal. Stanford and Cal are not in conversations with the Pac-12, and they're pretty mad about it. Apparently, I don't know. There's a lot going on there, man. If you have time, go back and watch the 220 segment. Goodness gracious. Not too long ago, Tulsa was pretty good.
Yeah.
Like you said, UAB has the potential. Now, and I hate to harp on UAB here too much, but quarterback situation is going to be really interesting, right?
That is, yeah. All, looking at spring ball and observing just today at fall camp. I mean, Trent has said before that Jacob Zeno is going to be the guy. But right behind him, hey, you've got a transfer quarterback in from Louisiana Tech, Landry Liddy, looking to be that number 2 guy right now. But all signs point towards Jacob Zeno being the starting quarterback week 1. I mean, I know we still got a few more weeks to go of camp, but right now, if you're asking me, Jacob Zeno is going to be the starter. And, folks might remember the name. That was a transfer in last year from Baylor. He played in the Big 12 championship game. So very talented dual threat quarterback. Played a little bit last year when Dylan Hopkins got hurt and was kind of forced into some bad situations. But if folks watched that UTSA game between UAB and UTSA game, the double overtime game last year, you can see the signs of Jacob Zeno. And if he improves on that, the AAC, hey, watch out now.
Well, and Jermaine Brown's back at running back, so that certainly helps.
Yes. Skull is back. And, hey, that UAB loses Dwayne McBride, but with, Jermaine Skull Brown, his nickname Skull, but, he is ready to tote the rock and be that number 1 running back moving forward with UAB.
Y'all like some nicknames down at UAB, don't you? Jelly, Skull.
Oh, yes. Yes, it makes my job easier.
Only good nicknames, like your co-host.
There you go. Yeah, Pee-wee. Yeah, Darian. Yeah, that's his nickname, Pee-wee.
I love so Pee-wee's Twitter handle says, or not handle, but his thing says, Pee-wee, introduce me as Darian first.
I like that.
It's like
I can relate to that.
Letting you know on top of everything.
Yeah, first reference.
On my first reference, my name is Darian.
You need to at least know my real name before you call me by my nickname.
My mom would be happy.
Again, I can relate to that.
I need to get on the guys about creating me a nickname. Nobody's ever created me a nickname, so I need to get on them about doing that.
Your name is literally John Claude. If your nickname is not Van Dam, I don't know what we're doing.
I wish I was as good looking as him, but hey.
These days, I guess if you take JCVD now, I don't know, but. John, man, thank you so much for taking time with us. We really appreciate it. And obviously, the AAC is going to be a unique conference this year with all of the new faces. So we're looking forward to seeing what happens and what's going on at Protective Stadium this fall.
Yes, and excited. I know you were talking earlier, but the Battle for the Bones is back. So definitely excited to see that rivalry. And hey, Memphis, don't skip on to the Big 12. Let's play a few years at least of the Battle for the Bones.
Let's see, October 21st. When is that? Make sure that's the third Saturday in October. If only there was something else going on that day. I don't know. So, hey, that's a heck of a day for football in the state of Alabama. In Tuscaloosa, you'll have Tennessee, and in Birmingham, you'll have Battle for the Bones. You won't be able to get on I-20 in anywhere.
No.
Because then you got Buc-ee's on the other side. So, I mean, it's just going to be a traffic jam from Leeds to Tuscaloosa.
Yeah. Stay home.
John, make sure to try to take you a bus over from campus or something, because this driving is not going to work.
Oh, yes.
Man, take care. We appreciate you taking some time with us. Looking forward to talking to you again throughout the season.
All right. Thanks, guys. Y'all take care as well.
You too.
All right. We're going to take a short break here, 1 minute promo, Justin. And when we come back, rapid fire reaction, all of the things we can get into the rest of the show right after this on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. Stick around.
This is Chris Yao with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat. AP Tennessee Sports Editor, three-time Tennessee Sports Writer of the Year 2020 TSWA Hall of Famer. She covers the Titans, the Predators, the Grizzlies, college football, and hoops. Please make welcome Teresa Walker.
Former University of Tennessee, former Team USA Olympian, ex-Cy Young Award winner, R.A. Dickey. R.A., did I miss anything?
Man, that was sweet. Yeah, I need to listen to that before I go to bed every night. That was nice.
Has 5 sports Emmys. That's not bad for the other guy in Wham, Ryan McGee.
The other guy in Wham married the best looking girl, Bananarama. So the other guy in Wham had a pretty good life.
From preps to pros, we're taking on the sports topics you care about. Tune in across Main Street Media social platforms at 2 p.m. or on demand on your podcast distribution platform of choice.
All right, it's time now for rapid fire reaction here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. Mo, do you have the six topics I have in front of us?
I did.
Run of show. Let's see.
I do. Yeah.
All right. Go
Shoot.
ahead. No, you pick the first one.
Oh,
we're gonna alternate topics here and just go as fast as we can.
okay. Well, I'm gonna pick the one that I retweeted.
All right.
USA 43, New Zealand 1.
Goodness
in,
gracious.
What, 13U international baseball.
And here's the thing. It was a run rule. They did that in like four innings.
Yes. Yeah. Somebody asked, isn't there a run rule? Well, yes. Yes, there is.
But you have to play 4 to get there. Yeah. And 43 times they crossed home plate. But New Zealand is just like, they're like, yeah, we'll see you in cricket.
There you go. Rugby.
Yes.
Yes.
Try us in rugby.
Come on. Yeah, come on.
Whenever you guys want to.
Let's find something we're good at. How about that?
How about our national pastime?
Right. Yeah. Well, we got to play your game.
Oh man, I felt bad. I did. I really did feel bad. I mean, my goodness, you and
I think they had 43 runs on like 18 hits. So I mean, I think there were a bunch of walks. And as a youth league umpire,
I was wrong. I'm sorry, it's 12U, not 13U.
Oh,
I missed. But either way,
yeah. But there were a bunch of walks, and like I said, you've seen how that works, and not to the tune of 43 runs. So I mean, when we umpire, you have like a 5-run limit per inning, that kind of thing.
So yeah, right. Yeah, it's once you score 5, you got to switch sides. So Peter Moylan replies.
Oh goodness!
Someone, because he obviously from Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Someone tell me who benefits from this score. 3-year Letterman right behind him, the oldest and greatest country on earth, Pete.
Wow. Yeah, that's a situation that's no fun for anybody. I don't think it's fun for Team USA.
No.
It's certainly not fun for New Zealand. Let's just call this good at 20-0 or whatever. You know.
Someone said start laying down bunts up 20. I'm like, yeah, that'd be okay if people taught kids how to bunt. Probably would have struck out a lot, which might also have been as good.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. The Michael Jordan meme.
Oh goodness gracious.
Anyway,
hang on a second.
Oh,
let me. I want to get a box score because I want to know how many walks there were. I know I'm slowing down our rapid fire.
I don't. If there's a box score out there, out of Cray, this is the team out of Cray, North Carolina.
Yeah.
This is not, by the way, Jason Maxwell's team. He did
No,
not score 43 runs on New Zealand.
No.
The United States also defeated Brazil 16-1 earlier this year. So
I'm not seeing a box score, and they may have burned it. So.
Okay. So the last thing that I see is they did not put a box score up there. They were defeated by the Dominican Republic 13-9 today.
Team USA was? And the Dominican Republic said, that's for New Zealand.
That's what you get for messing
New
with
Zealand
our
kids
boys.
were in the stands cheering.
Yeah. Nobody could understand them trying to speak Spanish, though. So, yeah, they did. They lost. They defeated Panama on Saturday 6-4, and then lost today 13-9 too in the opening round. So they'll play Korea at 6:30 a.m. Tomorrow morning. Of course, they're in like Taiwan or something. So,
all right, your turn.
Anyway, Jonathan Taylor asked the Colts for a trade. He says, "Deuces."
And
oh, by the way, I'm also hurt.
And the reaction from the owner kind of explains why.
Yeah,
because Jim Irsay gone Jim Irsay.
Jim Irsay maybe.
Now that Daniel Snyder is no longer in the league, is Jim Irsay the worst owner in the NFL?
I mean, I would think so. Guys, I mean, I hesitate to say anything bad about the Colts for fear of
I don't know. I don't think Greg Doyle would argue with our assessment of Jim Irsay.
No, I just feel like this is I mean, something out of nowhere for one. I mean, obviously you've had the Jonathan Taylor did not read the room.
No.
Running backs are expendable. Trade me. Huh?
Yeah.
JT, listen, bro. I'll talk to you for just a minute. Sit down, pimpin'. Let daddy holler at you. It's not the time. Maybe later. Especially coming off the year he had last year. It wasn't like he had a great year like he had 2 years ago. And by the way, as a Titans fan, I want JT on the team because he's terrible against us.
I want the Colts to have as few weapons as possible. So if they trade him, they trade him. But Jim Irsay, if I die tonight and Jonathan Taylor is out of the league, no one's going to miss us. The league goes on. We know that. The National Football League rolls on. It doesn't matter who comes and who goes, and it's a privilege to be a part of it.
Safe to
okay,
say.
fine. Then trade me then.
Yeah, I mean,
all the more reason. Go ahead, trade me.
And here's the thing. I mean, who doesn't want a Jonathan Taylor? There are a lot of.
I mean, even if you're
who would love to have a Jonathan Taylor? Tennessee Titans. Absolutely. No, they're not going to trade for him.
No.
They ain't got nothing to trade for him.
But if he were to hit the streets,
yeah, I mean, the Titans would probably pick him up.
That'd be a heck of a 1-2 punch right there.
Would it not?
Yeah.
I mean, you thought Deontay Foreman and D. Henry were good.
Mm-hmm.
This would be disgusting. But there are probably 20 teams in the league who would absolutely love to have him. And
I mean, even as devalued as the running back position is, I mean, Jonathan Taylor's got a pretty good track record. He ain't Derrick Henry.
No.
But he's pretty good.
Well, people thought he was 2 years ago.
They did think he was. Yeah.
Anyway, that kind of got shut up last year. The Anthony Richardson experiment clearly going well in Indianapolis.
Goodness gracious.
Apparently, he had a procedure on his nose yesterday to correct his nasal septum. Yeah, he missed practice today and will come back tomorrow if he feels like it.
Ouch.
So, but hey, he can dunk. We've seen that video. Have you seen that video running around?
I've not seen a video of a quarterback dunking.
No, they're playing pickup basketball because that's what you want your starting quarterback, future franchise guy to do.
Who is the guy that just blew a knee or whatever, jet skiing?
Yeah, exactly. Guys, jeez. Next,
make better decisions.
No doubt.
Jalen Hyde impresses in Giants camp. I'm not real familiar with this, but I know that there's been a lot of anti-Hyatt scuttlebutt, coming out of the draft and that kind of thing. He was a product of the system, blah, blah, blah. Tennessee does things that got him open. Well, how is that his fault? I mean, is that not a receiver's objective to get open?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean,
I'm just in your Twitter search bar, just type in Jalen Hyde and go to videos and just watch him because he is out here dominating.
I just don't know why it's a surprise.
Well, here's the thing is that, everybody thought that, he can't run routes. He can't run routes.
But he can run by you.
Except that he's out here running routes.
Yeah.
And getting off the guys and just looking absolutely like a guy who should have been a first-round pick, like we all said. And, the fact that in this era of the National Football League that the Biletnikoff winner was not a first-round pick is absolutely insanity.
Well, I mean, I just don't understand how you've got a receiver who's big, who can run, who's got hands.
Not can run, the fastest wide receiver in the game.
So there you go.
Only 2.5 miles per hour slower than Usain Bolt.
I did not know that, but I will take your word for it.
Again,
Yeah.
just type in Jalen Hyatt, and there's all kinds of stuff that comes up.
I'm not a big Giants fan, but I'll be interested to see how he comes along. Catching balls from Tyrod Taylor of all people.
He and Daniel Jones getting extra work after practice, all kinds of great stuff. So I'm looking forward to seeing Jalen Hyatt. Like you said, not a huge fan, but what Brian Daboll has done with the Giants has been impressive. And
we saw it early last year at Nissan Stadium.
Yeah. And losing that game cost us the dadgum division in a playoff spot. Not that we needed to be in the playoffs at that time, but still.
Yeah.
All right, SEC school has offered Talia Tungavailoa $1.5 million. Who was it?
Oh.
Best guess.
Alabama?
Nope. They wouldn't have to. I don't think they'd have to offer him money. I think if they said, hey, come play for us, he'd come play.
Well, if it wasn't Alabama, it's probably Auburn. I don't know. Who?
I think it was Ole Miss.
Makes sense. I mean, it tracks. I mean,
they got a young guy right now, but they'd love to have a transfer come in.
But they've also got Jackson Dart.
Yeah, but Jackson Dart, as we heard from our guy, our Ole Miss guy at SEC Media Days, they don't really love him. He's okay. He might work out, but
Michael Borky, was that his name?
Borky.
Yeah, with Sports Talk Mississippi.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, I don't know who else it would have been. Maybe A&M, but I think A&M would have offered him more money.
Yeah.
A&M would have said, whatever you need, we'll get it to you.
We're not going to offer you.
Just
You
write,
tell
you
us.
write down a number, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't think it was them. So that's my best guess. But anyway, also before we get out of here, Lee Hodges of Ardmore, Alabama / Tennessee / I'm not sure which side he's from. I have no idea. I think he's from the Alabama side, but I'm not entirely sure. But wins the 3M Open. Does it leading post to wire. Never been done in the tournament before, and pretty cool that a guy from 45 miles south of here ish.
I've got a line, and it's just so inappropriate. So
we'll
leave it alone.
We'll move along off the air. You can let that one out just to get it out.
Yeah.
But tomorrow, Chip Walters, as always. But Conference USA preview and more. So come back with us on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint at 2 p.m. See you then.